Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, July 16th. Welcome to the Inside Edge. Sorry for being a little tardy this morning. FEC reports kept me up late into the night last night, so I am working on catching up on all of them with you now. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the reports that came in. They had to be due by midnight last night. Some candidates chose to release them far earlier if they wanted to sort of brag about their totals. But now, theoretically, we have an updated picture of how almost everybody running for Congress in New Jersey is doing in the financial race as of the end of June. And I'll focus specifically on the district that I oftentimes focus on, which is the 7th district, which is the only district in the state right now that really has like a whole multitude of candidates who are raising a lot of money and proving themselves to be really serious contenders. So just to do a quick run through, Tom Kean Jr. raised $932,000. He's the incumbent, and he's got $1.5 million on hand. He kind of depleted his war chest in his competitive reelection campaign last year, and now he's building it back up, and it's pretty formidable. Rebecca Bennett raised $487,000. She's been in the race the longest of any candidate, so she's raised more than $900,000 overall. That's the best of any Democratic candidate running to unseat Kean. You've got Brian Varela, who raised $694,000, although with the fairly large asterisk that around $400,000 of that was self-funded. So, the actual money that he raised from donors themselves is substantially lower. Michael Roth raised $303,000. This was his first quarter in the race. Greg Vartan raised $56,000. He's been also in the race for a fairly long time. So in total, he's raised around $150,000 or a little more than that for his campaign. And then the one person that we don't have any reports yet from, but we do have some idea about their fundraising is Tina Shaw. She got in the race shortly after the filing deadline, but she announced that in her first day in the race, she raised $260,000. So we don't know what her Q3 report is eventually going to look like when it comes in 3 months. But clearly she is sort of in the same league as a lot of these other people who are running if that first day total kind of holds. And so what exactly does that mean? Because these campaigns, they need the money, obviously, to keep the lights on, to keep a couple of staff on hand, to do the basic things that any campaign needs to do. But they're not putting ads on TV, right? They're not fully campaigning yet. They're not doing the types of campaigning, or I should say they're not doing the types of campaigning that require money, right? This is about meeting voters. This is about calling donors for more money. This is that kind of stage of the campaign. And, with New Jersey politicians really, really focused on electing Mikey Sherrill governor and electing a Democratic state assembly, or, if you're a Republican, obviously doing the opposite, then, there is not a ton of appetite to focus heavily on these congressional primaries that are still a year away right now. So what this money really means is sort of proof of concept, right? It's a proof of viability to say to state Democrats and especially to national Democrats, listen, I know what I'm doing. This is going to be an expensive race come next year. This is in the New York City media market. I'm going to need to spend a ton of money on ads. You're, meaning, the D trip, is going to have to come in and help me out too. Because, this is a race that's seen a lot of super PAC spending in recent cycles. Here is my proof that I know what I'm doing on this. Here's my proof that I will not let you down when it comes to actually being able to keep pace financially. That's kind of what helped Sue Altman in 2024 clinch the nomination, is she got in the race significantly earlier than her Democratic opponents. And she was putting up fundraising quarter after quarter that were just sort of good enough to be like, yeah, okay, she knows what she's doing. She ended up being a really strong fundraiser when it came to actually the general election. She was raising millions upon millions. But even in those early quarters, it was just sort of, yes, I've never run for elected office before. I don't have the obvious profile for a candidate necessarily, but on this front, you can trust me. You can trust me to raise this money. And ironically, if you put her totals from her early quarters up against the quarters that we're seeing this year, she would be more middle of the pack. But, the point there was compare me to my opponents. And look, I am outraising them. I know what I'm doing on this, and I will have the money to be a serious contender in November. And that's what all the candidates in the 7th district, the Democratic candidates in the 7th district right now are trying to do too. They're trying to say, they're trying to build up a war chest so that they can actually spend money when they need to. But they're also trying to say, I know how to do this. You may have never seen me before. You may have never heard of me before. I've never run for office, or, I've never spoken with you before. But in a race that is going to be incredibly expensive, that is going to require millions of dollars, on that front, I am good, and you can trust me. And so I won't necessarily pass judgment on any of the fundraising quarters that we're seeing right now. You can do that for yourself. But that is I think the sort of lens through which we should be looking at these reports. So that's what I got for today. Hope you have a great day.